asking us to come down. We hurled down the stairs. Look here, Pyro, he said. Here's another complication. The monk fellow is missing. वो monk fellow जो था ना, Father Levigny, वो पता नहीं कहाँ गया. Father Levigny? Yes, nobody noticed it till now. Then it dawned on somebody that he has only one of that he was the only the one of the party not around. And we were in his room. His bed's not been slept in and there is no sign of him. मतलब ये है कि भैया वो है नहीं और कहीं भी था. The whole thing was like a bad dream. First Miss Johnson's death and then the disappearance of Father Livigny. The servants were called and questioned, but they couldn't throw any light on the mystery. He had been last seen at about 8 o'clock the night before. My father Livigny कहाँ है रात पिछली रात तो उनको मिला था. Then he said he was going for a stroll before going to bed. मतलब वो पैदल के लिए जा रहे थे और फिर वो before going to bed. Nobody had seen him come back from that stroll. ठीक है. The big doors that had been closed and barred at 9 o'clock as usual. Nobody, however, remembered unbarring them in the morning. Okay. The two houseboys each thought the other one must have done the unfastening. लेकिन दूसरे ने सोचा कि unfastening. Had Father Livigny ever returned the night before? Had he, in the course of his earlier discovered anything of a suspicious nature? मतलब हो सकता है फादर लेविग्नी को कोई चीज सस्पिशियस नेचर की मिली, gone down to investigate it later and perhaps fallen a third victim. हो सकता है उनको कुछ चीज सस्पिशियस लगी हो, वो गए हों और फिर मार दिया गया. कौन सी ना? अच्छा और उनको कुछ सस्पिशियस लगा हो और फिर उसको उन्होंने उसके चक्कर में वो मारे गए. थर्ड विक्टिम. Captain Maitland swung along as Dr. Rayleigh came up with Mr. Mercado behind him. Hello, Rayleigh, have we got anything? Yes, the stuff came from laboratory here. I've just been checking the quantities with Mercado. It's HCl from the lab. तो उन्होंने बजाय पानी के HCl डाल दिया था, तो उसने पिया तो वो मर गई. The laboratory है, was it locked up? Mr. Mercado shook his head. His hands were shaking and his face was twitching. He looked like a wreck of a man. तो मिस्टर मर्कादो का चेहरा एकदम पीला पड़ गया. It's never been the custom, he stammered. You see, just now we are using it all the time. I nobody dreamt. किसी ने सोचा ही नहीं कि कोई HCl भी जो है डाल करके मार सकता है या मर जाएगी. पानी की जगह जो था उसने HCl डाल दिया था ना. Is the place acid है ना, तो acid में डल के मर गई. Is the place locked up at night? Yes, all the rooms are locked. The keys are hung up just inside the living room. Living room के just under the keys are locked up. So if anyone had a key, they could get the lot. Yes. And it's a perfectly ordinary key, I suppose. Oh yes. Nothing to show whether she took it herself from the laboratory, asked Captain Maitland. Correct? Right. She didn't, I said loudly and positively. It felt a warning touch to my, I felt a warning touch to my arm. Pyro was standing right close behind me. Pyro जो था मेरे पीछे खड़ा हुआ था. उसने कहा कि अरे भैया बच के रहो, तुम ऐसे मत बोलो. And then something rather ghastly happened. Not ghastly itself, in fact, it was just the inconsequence that made it seem worse than anything else. A car drove into the courtyard and a little man jumped. He was wearing a sun helmet and a short, thick trench coat. एक आदमी बाहर निकला गाड़ी से और ट्रेंच कोट उसको लेके आया. He came straight to Dr. Liner, who was standing by Mr. Dr. Ali, and shook him warmly by the hand. Dr. Liner के पास आया और उनसे बात की. "Do Vela no more share," he cried. Delighted to see you. I passed this way on Saturday afternoon en route to the Italians in Fugema. I went to the dig, but there wasn't a single European about, and alas, I cannot speak Arabic. I had not time to come to the house. This morning I leave Fugema at 5, 2 hours here with you, and then I catch the convoy on. Oh Ben, how is the season going? मतलब मैं इटालियन से मिलने जा रहा था, एक कोई आदमी आया मिलने के डॉक्टर. It was ghastly. The cheery voice, the matter of fact manner, all pleasant sanity of an everyday world, now left far behind. He just bustled in, knowing nothing, noticing nothing, full of cheerful bonhomie. No wonder Dr. Ledner gave an inarticulate gasp and looked in mute appeal at Dr. Riley. मतलब डॉक्टर लाइडनर की तो दम निकल गए. The doctor rose on the occasion. He took the little man, he was a French ecologist called Verrier who dug in the Greek islands, I heard later aside, and explained to him what had occurred. Verrier was horrified. He had himself been staying at an Italian dig right away from civilization for the last few days and had heard nothing. He was profuse in condolences and apologies, finally striding over to Dr. Leiden and clasping him warmly by both hands. What a tragedy, oh my God. What a tragedy. I have no word. Mon pauvre collègue. And shaking his head in one last ineffectual effort to express his feelings, the little man climbed into his car and left us. As I say, that momentary introduction of comic relief into tragedy seemed really more gruesome than anything else that had happened. वो आदमी आया, उसने डॉक्टर लाइडनर को हाय हेलो किया, वो कॉमिक सी रिलीफ थी. तो बीच में क्या बेवकूफ़ सी बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे मर्डर हो गया. पर लोगों को बहुत ही ज़्यादा घासली लगी कि भैया ये क्या है, ये क्या होगा. The next thing said Dr. Riley family is breakfast. Yes, I answered. Come, Leidner, you must eat. Poor Dr. Leidner was almost a complete wreck. He came with us to the dining room, and there a funeral meal was served. I think the hot coffee and fried eggs did all of us good. Hot coffee, fried eggs जो थी, इन लोगों ने खाया, अच्छा किया. Although no one actually felt they wanted to eat. Dr. Ladna drank some coffee and sat twiddling his beard. His face was grey, drawn with pain and bewilderment. After breakfast, Captain Maitland got down to things. I explained how I had woken up, heard a queer sound, and had gone to Miss Johnson's room. You say there was a glass on the floor? Yes, she must have dropped it after drinking. Was it broken? No, it had fallen on the rug. I'm afraid the acids ruined the rug, by the way. I picked the glass up and put it back on the table. I'm glad you've told us that. There are only two sets of fingerprints on it, and one set is certainly Miss Johnson's, and the other must be yours. He was silent for a moment, then he said, Please go on. I described carefully what I had done and the methods I had tried, looking rather anxiously at Dr. Rayleigh for approval. He gave it with a nod. You tried everything that could possibly have done any good, he said. And though I was pretty sure I had done so, it was a relief to have the belief confirmed. Did you know exactly what she had taken? Captain Maitland asked. No, but I could see, of course, that it was a corrosive acid. Captain Maitland asked gravely. Is it your opinion, nurse, that Miss Johnson deliberately administered this stuff to herself? Oh no, I exclaimed. I never thought of such a thing. I don't know why I was so sure Partly, I think, because of Mercer parallel sense. His murder as a habit had impressed itself on my mind. And then one doesn't readily believe that anyone's going to commit suicide in such a terribly painful way. तो कोई आदमी इतना पेनफुली तो नहीं मरेगा एसिड खा करके, है ना। और दूसरा, हरक्यूल पायरो ने पहले ही कहा था कि मर्डर इज अ हैबिट।
मर्डर इज हैबिट मतलब क्या बात?
मर्डर करने की एक हैबिट हो जाती है, मतलब एक करते हो फिर दूसरा भी करोगे।
कौन है?
आइए मामा मैच देखिए, मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ। I said as much and Captain Maitland nodded thoughtfully. I agree that it isn't what one could choose, he said. But if anyone were in great distress of mind and this stuff were easily available, he might have taken it for that reason. Was she in great distress of mind? I asked doubtfully. Mrs. Mercado says so. She says that Miss Johnson was quite unlike herself at dinner last night, that she hardly replied to anything that was said to her. Mrs. Mercado is quite sure that Miss Johnson was in terrible distress over something and that the idea of making away with herself had already occurred to her.
Apu?
Well, I don't believe it for a moment, I said bluntly. Mrs. Mercado, indeed, nasty, stinging cat. Then what do you think? I think she was murdered, I said bluntly. He rapped out his next question sharply. I felt rather that I was in the orderly room. Any reasons? It seems to me by far and away the most possible solution. That's just your private opinion. There was no reason why the lady should be murdered. Excuse me, I said, there was. She found out something. उसने कुछ पता लगा लिया था, ठीक है ना। Found something? What did she find out? I repeated our conversation on the roof word for word. She refused to tell you what her discovery was? Yes. She said that she must have some time to think it over. But she was very excited by it? Yes. A way of getting in from outside. Captain Maitland puzzled it over, his brows knit. Had you no idea at all of what she was driving at? Not in the least. I puzzled and puzzled over it, but I couldn't even get a glimmering. Captain Maitland said, "What do you think, Mr. Pyro?" Mr. Pyro said, "I think you have there a possible motive. For murder, for murder." Captain Maitland frowned. She wasn't able to speak before she died? Yes, she managed to get just two words. What were they? The window. The window? Repeated Captain Maitland. Did you understand what she was referring? I shook my head. How many windows were there in her bedroom? Just the one. Giving on the courtyard? Yes. Was it open or shut? Open, I seem to remember, but perhaps one of you opened it. No, it was open all the time, I wondered. Baap re baap. I stopped. Go on, nurse. I examined the window, of course, but I couldn't see anything unusual about it. I wondered perhaps somebody changed the glasses that way. Changed the glasses? Yes, you see, Miss Johnson always takes a glass of water to bed with her. I think that glass must have been tampered with and a glass of acid put there in its place. What do you say, really? If it's murder, that was probably the way it was done, said Dr. Really promptly. No ordinary, moderately observant human being would drink a glass of gas acid in mistake for one for water if they were in full possession of their waking faculties. But if anyone's accustomed to drinking of a glass of water in the middle of the night, that person might easily stretch out an arm, find the glass in the accustomed place, and still fall half asleep. Toss off another for the stuff to be fatal before realizing what had happened. Captain Maitland reflected a minute. I'll have to go back and look at that window. How far was it from the head of the bed? I thought with a very long stretch you could just reach a little table that stands by the head of the bed. The table on which the glass of water was? Yes. Was the door locked? No. So whoever it was could have come in the way and made the substitution. Oh, yes. There would be more risk that way, said Dr. Rayleigh. A person who's sleeping quite soundly will often wake up at the mid sound of a footfall. If the table could be reached from the window, it would be the safer way. Interesting. I'm not only thinking of the glass, said Captain Maitland absent mindedly. Rousing himself, he addressed me once again. It's your opinion that when the poor lady felt she was dying, she was anxious to let you know that somebody had substituted acid for water through the open window?
Through the open window.
Surely the person's name would have been more to the point. She mayn't have known the name, I pointed out. Or it would have been more to the point if she managed to hint what it was that she had discovered the day before. Dr. Rayleigh said, when you're dying, Maitland, you haven't always got a sense of proportion. One particular fact very likely obsesses your mind. That the murderer's hand had come through the window may have been the principal fact obsessing her at the minute. It may have seemed to her important that she should let people know that. In my opinion, she wasn't far wrong either. It was important. She probably jumped to the fact that you think it was a suicide. If she could have used her tongue freely, she'd probably have said, it wasn't suicide. I didn't take it myself. Somebody else must have put it near my bed through the window. Captain Maitland drummed with his fingers for a minute or two without replying, and then he said, there are certainly two ways of looking at it. It's either a murder or a suicide. Which one do you think, Dr. Lydna? Dr. Lydna was silent for a minute or two. Then he said quietly, murder. Murder. Anne Johnson wasn't the sort of a woman to kill herself. No, allowed Captain Maitland, not in the normal run of things. But there might be circumstances in which it would be the quite natural thing to do. Such as Captain Maitland stooped to a bundle which I previously noticed him place by the side of his chair. He swung it on the table in something of an effort. There's something here that none of you know about, he said. We found it under the bed. He fumbled with the knot of the covering, then threw it back, revealing a heavy, great quern or grinder. That was nothing in itself. There were a dozen or so already found in the course of the excavations. What riveted our attention on this particular specimen was a dull dark stain and a fragment of something that looked like a hair. That'll be your job, really, said Captain Maitland. But I shouldn't say there's much doubt about this being the instrument by which Mrs. Lydna was killed. अब बोलो और आगे पढ़ना, नेक्स्ट इट विल बी मी या
अभी तो क्या हुआ?
अम्मा अभी तो ये कह रहे थे कि वो कह रही थी मर्डर हो रहा है,
हाँ,
है ना,
जॉनसन का हो रहा है ना?
जॉनसन का मर्डर। तो मिस जॉनसन को पता था। अब ये था कि मिस जॉनसन ने खिड़की की तरफ क्यों बोला, तो खिड़की की तरफ ये बोलना चाह रही थी कि भाई मैंने सुसाइड नहीं किया है, मेरा मर्डर हुआ है, पानी जो था मेरा एक्सचेंज किया गया था विद एसिड। तो अब ये क्वेश्चन था कि भाई उसने नाम क्यों नहीं बोला, तो हो सकता है नाम नहीं पता हो, है ना। और एक और भी हो सकता है कि कि क्या हुआ, राइट। सो इस तरीके से तो मिस जॉनसन का ये था। अब क्वेश्चन ये था कि अब ये एक का कहना था कि भाई सुसाइड का रीज़न ये है क्योंकि ये पोटली मिली है, और उस पोटली में जो एक्सकेवेशन में जो वो टूटे हुए क्यों होते हैं वो मिले हैं, और उसमें एक जगह ब्लड का स्टेन और बाल पड़ा हुआ है, तो हो सकता है इसी से मिसेस लाइडनर का मर्डर हुआ है। नेक्स्ट इट विल बी मी। इट वॉज रादर हॉरेबल। डॉक्टर लाइडनर looked as though he were going to faint, and
पापा नहीं आ गए?
पापा हैं, and
अब अभी फिर मत पढ़ो, कल पढ़ो।
पापा मैच देख रहे हैं।
उनको शांति से
ठीक है, चलो, ओके, गुड नाइट।
गुड नाइट। अब एक काम करो बेटा,